So I guess this was a thing that I guess people wanted. Still
Yeah,
trying to figure out why.
I
But
don't. We're from different places, and we have a weird, like, commonality in that we're both TG guys from
yeah,
the old
yeah,
board. Uh,
the
I'm an
golden age of TG. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, shit. I started off on the Chans, God, in the early aughts, and I would say that back then TG was a lot of world building, a lot of shit posting. You can go through the sub TG archive and kind of see before the quest thread era, there was this really beautiful golden era of like whimsical crazy shit but really brilliant world building and then epic story time.
Yeah, the story times are what I miss. I think people confuse the story times for the CYOAs, and it was like at one point there were like 15 or 16 choose your own adventures going on the goddamn TG board. I'm like, what the hell's going on in here?
Right, and it was completely different than the what you grew up with cuz like you have to understand that I think most of your audience can at least appreciate it that like 6 months on the internet is 10 years in real life. Just because of how quickly everything moves and changes. Because if I show you a meme from 6 months ago, you may not recognize it, or you go, "Oh, nice old school meme," because of
Nice meme, granddad.
yeah, and it's exactly it. You run into a lot of people who don't understand how quickly things move. So old TG was great story time, wonderful world building, and then really horrible whimsical shit, like, monster waifu stuff, where everyone weighs in, of course, because it's fun, but then sometimes it would get a little weird.
I am very familiar with the Monster Waifu channels on TG for sure. And I was probably the one shitting those things. What about sexy skinwalkers? And all goes fucking downhill from there.
Yeah, or, it's like, okay, would you rather bang the Thrykean or the Formosans? And you're like, do you dedicate large periods of your time thinking about this? And you just,
Well, to be fair, probably, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
that's more or less how that's more or less how my entire book series got built up. Like, what if?
well, you have to understand that, like, it's rich for me to throw stones in that glass house because I literally, with my beautiful team of helpers and friends and all the people who've helped me from inspiration to just money, I am enabled to shitpost and meld a. I had a PhD point this out, and they very coyly got through to me and let me know who they were without saying it openly. And I started a dialogue with them, and they said, I cannot determine if this is deliberate or accidental. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, do you ramped up the paradox of the Hobbesian Leviathan fighting a network decentralized enemy and wrote it in as a thesis shitpost to cover a topic in Battletech? And I said, yeah, but I like shit posting. And they said, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And then for the clans part 1 and part 2, I have this giant setup that ends with a dad joke.
And since we're going to get in that point, I think we should, because I'm assuming you're going to use this video too for easy breezy content. But I'm pretty sure majority of my fan base apparently know who the hell you are. But for the two guys who don't, why don't you explain what you do on YouTube and what your shtick is?
So I'm Tex the Black Pants Legion. I'm a shit poster. I've been around on YouTube forever. I play a lot of weird stuff like Space Station 13.
I saw your clown video.
Thank you.
We're gonna build a flamethrower.
Yeah, well, sometimes, there's a difference between acting funny and acting funny, right? And there's funny haha and there's funny medbay's gone. And so, you make your decisions. But I've been playing Space Station 13 since 2008. I've been recording it since 2011. And then on the other side of things, I guess I'm most well known for these kind of Ken Burnsian-ish, certainly nod to that, documentaries on Battletech called Tex Talks Battletech.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is blowing me away because they started off as like 8-minute rants and shit posts, and now I'm like getting nods from the actual writers of the setting, which is really bizarre for me.
Is that not just the weirdest fucking feeling when you go, oh?
Well, yeah, because you feel shameful because you realize you've been like playing. Well, you do, because it's like getting caught playing with little toys. Like little toys of Hot Wheels by someone who actually drives that real car. You know what I mean? So you're just like going zoom, and then the guy who like drives that real car is like, "Oh, you having fun with your Corvette there?" And you're like, "Ha ha ha! Ooh."
I like going zoom too.
Yeah. So I am hugely unqualified to enjoy the success, kindness, and recognition I have, and I really consider myself to be a fortunate accident rather than, you know, rightfully the inheritor of hard work or anything. I try to paint myself as a D- YouTuber with delusions of mediocrity.
So you could say you're a fortunate son then, in a way.
You know, it's some folk are born, as you may know, born to wave the flag, and yeah, no, I admit I do occasionally sing Credence in the shower. It's how I get by.
It's kind of sad how you say you're a D. You imply you're a D- YouTuber. And I'm looking at your page like if you're a D-, I'm probably a fucking plankton microscope in comparison.
The thing is, people have to keep in mind YouTube's different than it used to be. A lot different. Because back in the
it's a fucking minefield now. Shit.
Oh yeah, but back in the day, you could make like a middle class salary off of, you know, 1,000 views on a video. You could upload daily content of unedited stream of consciousness 5 or 10 minute videos once a day and guaranteed make like a decent middle class income off it. Oh yeah, which is bizarre. Because well, nowadays I find myself laughing at it because I got an email from YouTube and they're like, "This has been demonetized. You'll make no money off it." And I'm like, as opposed to the no money I make now. I mean,
yeah, because they say you don't make money on it, but they still run ads on it, so they're still making their money back on your video.
Of course they are. I mean, this is a business. I understand it's a business. I'm not confused it's a business. There are some people out there who go,
"How could YouTube do this to me?"
Yeah, it's a for-profit business. Like, if McDonald's let you borrow the parking lot on occasion to do whatever you wanted with it, you would never forget that was McDonald's parking lot. But if a corporation produces a public space online for profit, usually data mining and advertisement, it would be very foolish of anyone to sit in that space and go, "Ah, yes, this is a free space for everyone," because that's not true. It's a corporate interest that is there to mine your data and sell you things. It has nothing to do with anything else.
It's why we're like my dad's he's a big businessman right now, but he says that if something's given you for free, you are the product, not the product itself.
Well, there's that wonderful quote from one of my favorite books, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, Tanstoffel. You know, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Meaning, you know, if the lunch is free, the drinks are twice as much. There is some fucked up balance to the equation you are not seeing, but never assume there's such a thing as a free lunch. And so I kind of see that in the same way, because it's sad to think this. It really is sad to think this in the terms of the internet. But I miss old internet that was slow. I miss Angel Fire pages. I miss
Angel Fire.
I miss Tripod and GeoCities. I miss fan pages that were just messes. I love those.
Absolute travesties, yeah.
Oh,
like the old HTML pages.
Oh my god. Those were the best.
Because folks who were born before 2010 will never know of like the rogue age of the internet where you could fire up a LimeWire and you're gambling with either a computer or a free movie or a free song.
Yeah. I mean, it would be like you download. I mean, back in the day, everyone used Napster, LimeWire, all that shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember there where, you know, you'd have your friend And he'd call you up and be like, yeah, my computer doesn't work. I downloaded this song off Napster, and it was an EXE, and I opened it. And
It's executable.
yeah, so you'd just like, hey, I'm totally that song you wanted, .exe. It was a different era of the internet. There was no safety rail. There was no demarcation line. It was just whatever madness you wanted to put on the internet was okay. And if people wanted to support it, they would. And if they didn't, they wouldn't. And it was great.
You had to kind of find your own partners who shared your madness, which is how I got started. I was a waifu smith. I would take things and turn them into chicks. That's what my gig was for many a year up into the military. I was turning tanks and planes into big titty waifus. That was kind of my thing.
That is an interesting fact to learn. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah,
no,
so...
I'm listen, I have had such a weird fucking day and such a weird fucking year, and this is not the most outrageous thing I've heard. So, you know what? Continue. By all means, by God, sir, thank you for your service. You continue to tell me these things. I am not judging. Not at all.
So, it all came to a head when there's an anime called Upote that came out, where they turn rifles into girls. There have been ones before that for sure. But this is the one that caught the big swoop of my rifle is now my waifu.
I saw that. People. All right, I'm old. I live under a rock. I don't internet very well, and so. The thing is that I see things out of context, right? You see through the keyhole.
Yeah.
You see through the keyhole. So you're wondering what this is about. And in the BPL, people posting shit. They'll be like, oh, Tex, which of these girls you like? And I'm sitting there looking at them, and I'm going, these women seem to have a theme, and they're all patterned after...
They seem to have a theme.
They see that, well, that's all my brain can do. I'm old. So my brain goes, there is a theme present. One of these things is not like the other. And I'm just sitting there trying to figure it out. And then one of the guys was like, oh, it's Garen Chan. And I just went, not in favor. You know, just absolutely, yeah.
Who in the goddamn is Galil Chan? What the fuck is this?
I don't know. I bet Galil Chan would probably be pretty reliable and adapted to a harsh service life. So I think she'd have your back.
Galil Chan's a fox girl. She's a wolf girl, and she's like the only one with ears. Anyway,
I retract my statement.
And but anyway, so I got started with that. I started writing short stories on early /K, like early TG was a haven.
Yeah. Oh,
Old K was the tits, and I would be there writing short stories.
Oh, dude, Old K was what if we had a carrier? It was Marines versus the Underdark. It was Old K was world building, world crafting. What if Wolverines? It wasn't so much the ATF edgy meme shit anymore, or LOL Terrorite Dog or whatever. You know, you've fallen for the
combat Roomba go.
Oh yeah, exactly. Where it's like you've fallen for the classic blunder. You know, just the same recycled memes over and over and over again. And that's fine, but yeah, I know what you're saying. The Old K was imagination and stupid things. Like, help me, I accidentally filled this room with Glocks because I wanted to buy a 380 Glock, and I bought 380 Glocks.
Yeah.
You know,
or my favorite, your move, Mr. Lawman.
Exactly.
That's like the oldest K meme.
Or right, and it's funny because they're just, Old K was different. Old K was that meme of, I'm on a mission, or what was it? I have the power of God. You know, the guy in the lawnmower where it's like, I have the power of God. And
he's got a revolver and a fucking John Deere lawnmower.
Yeah. So, like, that was Old K. New K is just all edgy, and then, like, people putting dicks on rifles, which I guess is inevitable, but
Not really on, but more in rifles. That was a big fad for a while, where you get your dick slammed in the chamber. That was a weird time for /K for sure.
I got out of gunsmithing at the right time, I think. Like,
why is there foreskin in this fucking rifle? What the fuck is this?
You know, I've seen a lot of chamber obstructions, but I think that would be like, it's time to retire moment. Like, there is a fad and I don't care for it.
Why is this AK full of blood and why is he crying? What the fuck happened here? But like how you're writing stories, I got to writing stories via short stories, and it kind of bloomed out into this YouTube audio drama series, and I had to, kind of like how you got a little bit of a track record. I I actually got into it with a lot of publishers because I had this book, which basically slash K goes to Fantasyland, and they kept wanting to change it, and I got quite jaded, and I decided that fuck this, I'm just gonna self publish, and so I went to the self publishing route. But and so why I've kind of been tracking you, and I'm not going to mention his name or what happened, but that thing happened to you. It's kind of like if you're not in line, a subject shift here. If you're not in line with like normal media, because me and you are old bloods of 4chan, we have different way of humor and thinking and saying.
Yeah.
But if you don't lockstep with people who can give you the ability to publish or become larger, they try and change you and or dump you down. Like with me, they want me to change my entire book. They said, hey, make this character gay, this character, non-binary, make these two lesbians. I was like, no, whoa, it's not what the book's about. And then with you talk to the wrong person, and you get dragged to the mud like you're some kind of like a kind of scavenger in the name Grain Silo. And it was just the weirdest thing to watch that bloom around you, because I'm hearing about it with people saying, "Hey, I've heard about Tex, but what happened with Tex?" I'm gonna follow this like blood trail after that video, and I was like, God, because this isn't just you or me; it's everyone who doesn't fall in line with this current narrative that gets like they try and stamp you down, and like people like me and you are kind of almost like well, kind of like an endangered breed in a way. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, I suppose in this regard, I am not the kind of person to see the world in terms of political affiliation or preference for media or taste in music. I tend to talk to people as people, and I tend not to look into their private affairs, their background, or past. There's a quote, gentlemen don't read each other's mail, right?
Well, that's how it should be in general.
And so I tend not to look deeply into the doings and affiliations and everything, because I don't think of myself as a brand. I think of myself as just a guy who shit posts. That's how I see myself.
I shit post about mech warriors, what I'm here for.
Yeah, and so with the whole fallout from that, I had a lot of people who reached out, who said, I'm concerned, or this or that, or did you know? And a lot of people were concerned or confused. And I talked with those people. Those people we had things in common with. They had seen my actions up to that point. They believe me to be a good-natured person, or at least not evil, which I thank them for. That's very generous these days. And so I explained my point of view. They explained their point of view. We agreed or disagreed, and we reached a consensus, and we're fine with it. But the problem with controversy is, rather than treating people like people, not their politics, not everything they've said and done, and just jumping in, as I did, for the choice to be an ambassador and to welcome people from the fandom they don't like or isn't treating them very well right now, to
which damn near every fandom, it seems like Jesus,
right, and
almost like every fandom's on fire or burning down,
right.
Or
and I've lived through that. I've had shit I love die. And that sucks. But you want to find a new thing to do things with. You want to find new hobbies to, share things with. You don't want to be just one of those sad fuckers going, oh man, the old days were great, and because fuck that.
We're back in old TG.
Yeah, I know. And we mention that, but we also keep that spirit alive. And we've probably met other people who are similarly affected by that, who,
for sure, yeah.
Despite the demise of the old way, have kept that storytelling, creativity, and fun stuff alive, just not there anymore. There's a diaspora. They left that area, they fled to new places, and they planted their seed there. And I'm fine with that. But the main issue is, I met the people I could, I tried to talk to the people I could, and I tried to speak my heart. Now, I was advised, believe it or not, by multiple people to say nothing, or to issue a very cold PR statement, that wasn't me. And instead, with no sleep for 3 days, I issued my statements, I engaged with people, and I tried to help understand and find commonality and decency, and to let reason and kindness and understanding, or at least the implicit understanding, that you are not the sole arbiter of justice in the world, let those things rule the day. And for the most part, that was very successful, and I've met a lot of people who are very kind, but the problem is, in these regards, I've found, is like you say, the bloom around that situation colors it. And you have people who otherwise would not care about you at all or your doings, who suddenly become very involved on one side or another, trying to let you know that this action or that action is the best action, and you need to get on my bandwagon to hurt those people, so and I'm like, no, I won't do that. I am not here to spend my time on the internet hating people. No one lives for rent-free in this brain. I'd rather shitpost.
And it's that thing where I know for certain, like on my Discord, there's a huge hoopla because we actually lost a few Discords. But the term shit posting, it's like back in the day, it was something different than this new shit post, and it seems to the term seems to infect the actual joy of what it was. Because it used to be like a humor thing. It was how you shared private humor with your buddies, but now it's evolved into like this super edgy, gotta be super foul and that kind of stuff.
Well, right.
Kind of tainted the entire prospect of it.
Well, right. Shitpost used to be something you could put into a situation, whatever it was, and completely destroy that line of thought. That was the majesty of old school shitposting, where you could just drop something that was so bafflingly stupid, crazy, or weird, or apt, like a meme that was so dead on it was scary. You drop that right in that situation, and you've derailed it. You've won that conversation. That's what shitposting used to be. It was the trap card. It was the magical thing you brought out that was like, no, you. But yeah. I get what you're saying. The modern shitposting is virulently edgy, it's harmful, it's hateful, and it's in the saddest sin of all, it's not even funny.
It's not even funny. Yeah. Like there's a thing called Nugget Fest I go to every year when I can. Basically, you go out in the woods, and especially slash K in the woods.
Okay, so LARPing, yeah, got it.
Yeah, and it's like a range day and all that fun stuff, but it's like these guys... You tell the old bloods from the new bloods, because when the old bloods, in real life shit posts, it's always funny. It's always like a little giggle moment. Then you have the new guys who just scream the gamer word over the radio and call it a day, and that's their shit post. And it's this weird...
Well, the problem is...
like culture clash or something.
Well, it's not only that. It's culture clash, but it's someone not understanding the culture that they're trying to embrace. Because they weren't brought up in it, and the internet shifts so quickly that everyone thinks they can Control-C, Control-V their past and earn some credentials. And it's really not the case, because the difference between old school and new school is old school is acta non verba. You remember people who do crazy shit and funny things. Talking mad shit means nothing. The new school on the internet is words and do nothing. And it's one of those things of why. It's the inverse in many ways. And I'm certain my detractors will point at me and say, but Tex, all you do is talk. Yep. I know. Again, I said throwing stones in glass houses. I am absolutely guilty of that. But I would like to say with the vast fundraising, social awareness, and many other initiatives we've run, I think I can also afford to talk on the side as well, knowing I've exhausted myself to help other people.
It was one of those things where me and you both have what's more or less not more like content, something you consume. And it's kind of funny because I'm reading the tweets people tweeting at you, and I've had my own nasty emails and Discord DMs in the past. And these folks, it's hard to explain how they don't have any interest in us whatsoever. They don't care about us, they don't like our content. But once something goes wrong, they always lurch out of the fucking woodwork and like, well, I'm not gonna watch her, I'm not gonna buy her, I'm not gonna like. And you think, well, you're not gonna watch my stuff anyway. You're not gonna buy my stuff anyway. Why should I care what you think? It seems like everyone nowadays believes their word has some kind of weight. And
well, it does. Words have weight if you've done weighty things up to that point. Like, if you have a professional basketball player all of a sudden say on social media, I'm not buying your fucking shoes anymore. That's kind of a big deal. But if it's like one guy who comes out and goes, I don't like your Nikes because your manager said a mean thing once, like, no one gives a shit. I hate that the manager said the mean thing to you, but this is the wider world. There's people dying every day of preventable means, and you're choosing to be upset over this. Please, sir, please go outside.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that there's this new culture out there that didn't exist when we were around, because people didn't like something, they just ignore it. But there's this new culture. I mean, you have to come to heads with. You've come to head with a lot sooner than I ever had to, because you're much larger than me. Is that it's not cancel culture. It's more of a counterculture where they try and suppress things they don't like, or they try and bring down your morale. Like when a really solid fan says, "Hey, you're doing something wrong," you usually pay attention to them. You kind of go, "Hey, what's going on?" But you be getting, I would say, flooded with these people who know nothing about you. They've only heard your name in passing, and they're trying to literally drag you down like a crab bucket. And almost every single content creator that's not towing the line on YouTube or whatever else has to come to grips with these people. And it's just like the oddest thing that I'm still not quite gotten to grips with, because like I am much smaller than you. But they're even sending me emails, like, because apparently my book is really offensive. Because in my book there are female characters who die because, more or less, in the Velveter series, it's it's an all-gender army. So there are female heroes who do stuff in combat, and people love that. But they hate when I describe, female Joes getting mowed down above machine gun fire, and I like that, and say I should be canceled, I shouldn't be able to write books, I shouldn't be able to sell my book on Amazon, all because of things they don't like. And they try and just like swamp you down. It's like the weirdest phenomenon where usually, I don't like that book, you don't read the book. Well, Tex is, like with you, Tex has weird content, you just don't watch the content. But people go out of their way to try and destroy, this work you put into this stuff. And I think you felt the biggest brunt of that, recently. People trying to probably take it down, tell YouTube you can't do stuff, sponsors, that kind of stuff.
Well, they tried. What's funny is I don't have sponsors. This isn't my job.
Yeah.
Patreon cost me like $8-9 grand last year. I spend that on making stuff, so that's not my job either. Don't have any endorsements. Everything is brought to you by you. I use the old PBS method. If you don't think I should be on the air, don't pay for it. And that's just where I leave it. But I find an understanding of the frustration of some of these people, especially after COVID, where I was reading most recently, the average American spends outside of work an additional 6 hours in front of a screen. 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
6 hours since the start of COVID. And I'm thinking, if I didn't have the outlets I did, the friends I did, the support network I did, if I didn't have the purpose I did, and I had another 6 hours a day to stare at a screen, and I didn't have anything to do but watch and feel anxious, I would not be a happy person, and my interactions accordingly would not be unhappy. I'm not trying to dismiss these people as mentally ill or foolish or stupid, but I think that anyone who genuinely wanted to know what was going on and wanted to know my take on it and wanted to know why and what, I answered those through emails, private channels, private Discord calls, getting invited to their Discord so they can control the whole situation. And I listened to people. I didn't wait to speak. I listened, and I wanted to understand why these people were mad. And then once I had listened and acknowledged that, I let them understand why a lot of the actions they had taken were certainly unwelcome, and if not unethical in the extreme, were just morally reprehensible in terms of being hateful for hateful's sake. If I skin my knee, I do not strike the earth. I just be mindful. It's one of those things where if you feel hurt, do not hurt others. I mean, I'm a guy who used to work emergency services, not because of the fucking paycheck. I'm a guy who used to be a public librarian, not because of the fucking glory. I believe in helping people and trying to help people, but I find often enough these days, it's easier to pick up a flag and scream and rant and yell, rather than understand why someone thinks differently than you do, and still appreciate that. Because I feel, and this is something that has been lost in this current generation, there is a distinct lack of ability to have critical and difficult conversations with each other on very serious topics.
No joke. Like, you can't discuss a damn thing. Well, you go on YouTube, there's words you can't say. You can't talk about certain people. You go on Twitter. And the worst part is that there's also a layer of you're anonymous on the internet. And whether it's Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, people will actually become more vicious and less humane in the things they say.
Well, of course.
Because they're safe behind their screen. And it's just, you know, like you've been in this game for a while. I'm pretty new. I'm pretty new to YouTube. And I have fears for those who want to try and get into it in the future, because like you got in it early enough, you kind of got through the bad parts. I'm trying to break the surface right now, trying to scoop out through the ocean to hit the air now. And then you have the other guys who they're going to come in later on, because there will be pockets of space they kind of pop into, and they're going to have this absolute ocean to try and get through.
Well, and the thing I try to remind people of is the Emperor Lemon did a really great video on it about, well, he's done many, many great videos on the difficulties of YouTube and the algorithm and all of these many topics. And he's very, very apt at understanding these things. The man has a keen mind. And one of the things he pointed out that I think is absolutely critical is that it's very, very difficult on YouTube to be seen, because essentially, if you drive off the main highway and there is a McDonald's on every corner and your burger joint is 8 miles down the road serving the exact same hamburgers, what are the chances of you getting business? Probably not that great. So you either have to stand out to be recognized, or you must compromise for the sake of the algorithm. Or there is option 3, which is just be yourself, enjoy what happens, and create for the sake of creation.
And I will say it's going to segue into my next little bit here. That's the community. Like, me and you have never spoken before. We barely knew each other, but our community literally grabbed us by our shirts and said, "Now kiss," and pushed us together.
Well,
and it's one of those things where, like, nowadays it's like you gotta swim through the communities. You gotta find somewhere you want to be, and then build up to the community, and then try and branch out to other ones. And it's like it's like the weirdest, like it's like we're all these herds or packs of people, and you gotta try and bring these packs together, and we're all sharing the same herd in a way. And it's just fascinating to me, because my book, because you're about Mech Warrior, BattleTech, all big stompy robots.
And some Space Station 13 here and there.
And Space Station 13, and clown antics, man.
Yes.
But me, I write a book series about waifus and commandos who fight in Fantasyland using Stug 4s and Abrams tanks, having gunfights and that kind of shit. And we're both extremely secular subjects. Like, we're not like Reggie Ant doing like, we'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Not like we're extremely one lane communities. Yet we still have these little threads here and there where they all kind of share. And I'm always kind of wondering, like, just how far can those webs go? Like, I'm sure you pull in tons of different folks who are like, oh, what's this whole mech warrior thing? And they find you, or they go, what the hell the Velar thing? And they find me. But I wonder how many times these little webs of communities have branched out and pulled other people into these other subjects. And it seems like if you're not mainstream, if you're not one of these big names who YouTube just schlocks the knob off the entire time, it seems like the only way you can survive is to try and pull these communities together and share the same fan base.
Well, and the thing is, is it's one of those things of when it comes down to the notion of reach, I would rather do a job, a good job, one I was satisfied with for 10 people than an okay job for 10,000 and a shit job for 1,000,000.
Absolutely,
and,
for sure.
And I would rather be the nobody that everybody was on okay terms with than the most famous person in the world because I agree with everything you're thinking, because I just nod when you say it. There's a certain thing where when it comes down to approval or disapproval or politics or not politics or this culture or that culture, I let people know that I am the way I am because of the life I've led. And I acknowledge that you are the way you are because of the life you've led. And we all make our decisions independently, and we self-determine according to our experiences, which is great. This is shit I love. So when I find, on the same line of logic, when I find I have fans from all over the place who shouldn't have anything in common at all for any reason, who do, I'm overjoyed by that. Because one of the saddest feelings in the world is that you are alone. It is one of the saddest, most desolate feelings in the universe, is that you are alone. And to know that you can be you, not a compromise of you, not a half measure of you, not a politer version of you, but that you can be you and nerd over the shit you like and wave any flag you want, and you'll find someone else who has that commonality and waves that flag too, and you can just enjoy yourselves in a hobby. And it's again why I tried to reach so many people, why again I don't do politics. I would rather want to share a table and have plenty and welcome everybody and have a good time. If we just avoid some subjects like politics and religion, we can shitpost all we want and eat all we want, and no one goes home with a sour gut or bad feelings, and you can do it all the time. And it's old school. It's very old school country manners. Don't be a dick to your neighbor, you know? Like, you may not love your neighbor, but you don't want to see him destroyed, and you don't demean him because he's different than you. And that was how I was raised. I mean, it's baffling now that people don't even know their neighbors anymore.
They don't know. You get folks live on top of each other in apartment buildings who don't even know what the neighbor looks like, let alone what their name is.
Right, oh God, and that's horrifying to me, because it used to be where I grew up was, hey, run to the neighbors and see if they have some eggs. I mean, it was
sugar,
just yeah, and you could do that, and the neighbor would loan you back some sugar or whatever. You know, just yeah.
They'll say, "Oh, hey, your name, how you doing?" Like, oh, but it was before like feeling lonely, or because I was called what I've dubbed the pack animal theory, where human beings are pack creatures. They want to have other humans around them, or have.
Well, of course,
I mean,
we're tribal. We're very, very tribal.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh yeah.
Twitter has shown that very clearly. We're all fucking tribal. Let's get to that point. But like you said, sometimes back, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said that it's better to have 10 fans or 10 community members who you adore than have 10,000 who's kind of meh about you.
Right.
Because me and you, I'm sure more you than me, we have fans who would fight to the death for us if need be, and fans who wouldn't. And I think you've seen the fair weather fans drop off, I'm sure, because of the whole thing. But I'm sure you saw even more stick up for you. And is it not the weirdest feeling in the world, having someone else you've never seen the face of, you've never heard, you've never known, stick up for you? on the internet, or is the most wild sensation, really.
It is, and it is my preference that no one stick up for me and that no one tear me down. That is my preference, of course. And I frequently have said this, that I try to warn people about parasocial relationships, because ultimately, when people fall in love with a very narrow vision or view, a keyhole look into someone's life that is idealized and perfect, and they say all the things you want and do all the things you do, play the games you like, it can be very easily abused, because you either set yourself up to watch and seek approval from someone who is essentially a fabrication, a simulacrum of a human being, or
VTubers.
well, right, in literal sense, it's come full circle. But what I mean is, there is a fabricated personality. Everything is produced, and it's really one of those strange things where I don't want people to buy anything from me. That's why I don't sell anything, because I don't want to cultivate and take from people who have given me my appreciation. Because I'll be honest here, I am a barely functioning human being who has been in therapy since he broke down working emergency services. Like, I worked emergency services until I broke, and they threw me away like a fuse. And I started this hobby as a way to stop drinking and to start creating and not feel hurt anymore in the world. And so I let people know my story and my fucked upness, because I want them to know I like creating stuff irrespective of if they like it or not, because I'm making it for those same 10 friends who still watch. That's who I'm doing this for. And if it brings purpose or happiness or approval or what have you, that's great. But my principles have not moved. I would rather do a better job for those 10 people than please the world.
I want to offer you an actually objective view on that, because I write books.
Yeah.
And I like folks who buy my books. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, money's great.
Sure. I mean, there's no argument from me on them. Makes the world go round. It's very hard to be sat in a Ferrari. Absolutely.
But when someone buys your book, to me as a writer, they're taking a piece of you. And the more books they sell, the more it's like they have a piece of me they can hold and read. And you said fans around the world. There's no giddier feeling than on the first of the month when I go out and I ship out these books. I have books off to Belgium and South Africa and Australia.
That's great.
And unfortunately, I can't do that for free. Or if I could sell books for free for a cent, I would.
Oh, of course. And I'm not at all hating on someone who has a transaction business. I used to run my own. I was a gunsmith. Your time is worth something. Your devotion is worth something. That's fine. And if that is the sole application of your time, that's great. And I can appreciate and respect that perspective. However, of course.
What's funny is that I never had plans to make books. I never did. I was just going to do it on YouTube and call it a day.
Yeah.
Well, no, they wanted it. Like, hey, you should make this a book. I'm like, why the fuck should I make this into a book? And it's why. I mean, even as high as I am right now. Number one, my friend James got me here in the first place. I started narrating for him, and then I started writing these stupid little short stories while narrating for him. And people going, hey, you should make a book. You can make a book. And then I got a hold of the smaller channel, started doing my little stories there, and like, hey, make a book. And I was getting emails like, make a fucking book, like in all caps.
Yeah, and I get that. You have to do that. It's obviously the universe saying, hey, the river's rolling this way, bud. Quit swimming upstream. And the point though, and while I respect all that, I understand it. You are answering to market forces which have compelled you to do what you must, and you feel you must honor those. No disrespect. However, my sake of creation comes from a place of like deep wounding and hurt, and I can't taint that with a financial exchange. And it's just for me. I don't expect everyone to do things the way I do them. I don't want anyone to think I'm standing on a moral high ground because I give lots of money away. I just want people to understand there's like, I just...
On a little soapbox, like...
Right. I just want people to understand that this is not done for me to wave a flag and go, look, here's an annoying centrist who tries to like everyone and is standing on a moral high ground. It's more, hey, here's this guy who's had a lot of really fucked up traumatic things happen to him over the course of his life, and he's trying to create stuff to drown out the bad voices in his head.
See, there's that word, create. And I'm in the exact same boat, and I really am, because I have more TBIs than most people have legs. And it's just like the creation of stuff like kind of helps you get over that hurt,
yes,
that pain,
absolutely.
those nightmares.
Crafting.
And the thing is, it seems like you ever notice like through history, only like really hurt and damaged people make good stuff. Like,
well,
it's this pattern you usually trace.
I think that suffering, deep, true.
He said the word suffering. Yes.
I think
it's the suffering that makes you wake up.
Do you think that, for example, Van Gogh could have painted the crazy shit he did if he didn't believe in his heart that if he didn't, the universe would judge him for doing a poor thing with a poor life? I mean, he had the weight of expectation in his brain that was greater than the weight of crowns of heads of state. The man was not well, but his outlet was paint. And
was creation.
Yeah, and he moves the world through it. You look at, I mean, good God, there are so many talented people out there who've had the shit beat the fuck out of them, who say, you know what? Yeah, and that's so many people hurt. And that's why I encourage people who hurt to create. I tell people that, like, hey, if your shit hurts, create. If you're miserable, create. Because even if you're hurt and you use that hurt to build something, and it goes to someone else who's having a bad day and looking at that thing or having that thing that you made in their life, turns that curve just 1 degree to help them have a better day, make better choices, and to treat the world as a better place. I mean, fuck, that's worth it 1,000%.
Well, like you said, those 10 close friends or 10 close fans who are there every day for the things you create, that can keep folks from death. It really can. Like, as long as, I'm sure me and you are in the same boat, as long as me and you have someone, this one person tuning in to every video, listening and reading, we'll probably live as long as we can. Like, because we've been doing this, like I've been doing this for a year, you've been doing this for probably longer than I have, but as long as one person's there to listen, we'll probably keep doing this until we turn to ash.
Well, it's one of those things that one of my favorite poets is Maya Angelou, and she said that the greatest burden is the story untold. And that is a twofold warning, I think. It's a warning to the artist that the greatest burden you will ever have or bear as an artist is not sharing your story, not sharing your art, not sharing your creativity, not sharing that beautiful thing that could make the world a better place for generations to come. Not doing that because you are afraid of rejection. That is a burden. And the truth is a burden. And you look at art as this majestic truth that you can create that will outlast you, in some cases by thousands of years. I mean, we're digging up shitposts off the walls of Pompeii.
Literally, I banged your mom jokes on the walls of Pompeii.
Yeah, so
I was going for that long.
So I want people out there listening to understand that whatever you do, do it well. But if you must shitpost, choose a good one, because you never know when your handwriting is going to be dug up 2,000 years on and discussed in scholarly circles about whose dick was tiny and why you know that.
I mean, you're not wrong for sure, because some shit posts, like, cause literally my book is a shit post. It's literally the reverse isekai, where humans go to Fantasyland and try and keep it. And your little icon's literally a pair of black pants on a flagpole. But if you are going to shit post, I mean, do it in a creative way. I mean, do it in a way that'll bring more laughter than anger or ire.
Because if I wanted to go out and piss as many people off as I could,
it ain't hard.
It wouldn't be fairly difficult, because I could go out and research for a weekend, like what are the most hot button things going on right now, and just try to construct and spread the most ignorant things I could say about them, which would be a lot of effort, and I don't understand people who do that. So it's a lot of this dealing with all of this aftermath has been kind of alien. But again, I don't want to focus on only the negative, and I don't want to bash anyone who speaks out against me. I believe in, again, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of access to information. And the problem is that often enough, if I say, I disagree with you, people go, oh, you must hate me. And I go, no. Like, you and I have disagreements over things, I'm sure, but we're both like, the internet's pretty cool. Hey, remember when Diablo 2 was like the only game you could play online? That wasn't bad times, you know? And you think back to simpler times and what have you, and as do I. And even though we have lived different lives, we have our traumas from different places, we enjoy different things. We share a community and perhaps a heart on that. And that's good enough for me.
Mm. So through the future, what do you think lies ahead for you in the Black Pants Legion? Because right now you kind of hit your first major rough patch, really. And do you think it's going to affect you in the future, or are you just going to literally just plow ahead and just keep going your own way? Because what I want to hear is that you're going to brush this shit off your shoulder like bird shit and just keep on plowing ahead as you were. That's what I want to hear. But what do you think?
Well, the thing is, there are three secrets I was told by a Zen Buddhist friend of mine I admire greatly. He said there are three secrets to getting through life. They are be kind, and be kind.
Hmm.
Now, the problem is, I went to grad school in Detroit, and I come from the School of Hard Knocks, and I've had Plan B become Plan Z in the course of an afternoon. And I've had everything possibly go wrong in my life that I could. So when I say, what does the future bring? What are my course of action? I would be lying if I said I had any compelling idea what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone this evening. I think I might go grocery shopping. Because
buy some bananas.
Well, maybe, right? Because that's within my power to control. Buying bananas or not, going to the store or not, that is firmly within my control, I reasonably assume. However, nothing up to this point has been anything I really could control other than trying to be kind, trying to do the best job I can, and learning from mistakes. I don't see any need to fundamentally change that other than going forward, trying to be kind, trying to be reasonable, and learning from mistakes, and acknowledge when there's an accident or whatever, and move on. Because ultimately, the real crux of the issue in these sort of things is you can either spend all your time online trying to explain every last little question, angle, and everything that people want to propose about you, which the bigger you get, right, which the bigger you get, the more of those people there are. Or you can be you, and you can encourage those people to be the best people they can be, and you don't rule them. And your job is not to be their father or their mother or their demon or their angel. Your job is to be a good neighbor and to move forward. And so my objective is to keep shit posting. Certainly a lot less time on social media. In the last week, I've just been like, fuck this shit.
And I don't believe one bit. I mean, social media is great for fan connection, but that's about it.
I've told people they can reach me by an email. If you want to talk to me, I'll respond. And I appreciate letters. I actually do. But it's one of those things where I've not yet found a single argument, cohesive argument, on social media like Twitter or anything that has had any substance, save for one, and I immediately signed it. Later did I find out this was completely fake, and it made me very upset. But it was the petition two petitions. One, the first was for Jeff Bezos to purchase and eat the Mona Lisa to complete the cycle, which I felt was appropriate because he's gone from like garage bookseller to like Lex Luthor in a shocking amount of time. And down to his own space program. So I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then the other one was once he went up into space to not let him back. That one I also signed.
You stay up there, Bezos.
Yeah, no, and the reason I want him up there is not in exile. I don't believe in exile. What I think, and this was my thinking at the time, which is not entirely selfish, I would like it for him to be trapped up there so his vast fortune and the fortunes of others were spent trying to build the infrastructure to get him down. And so in that way you would provide a lot of jobs and entertainment, right? But also the infrastructure to help bootstrap us to space and maybe extend our lifespan as a civilization.
So Mr. Tex confirmed playing 4D chess with the life of Jeff Bezos. Gotcha.
Well, what I'm saying is it would be entertaining. It would be very highly entertaining, but it would also probably be a great jobs project, and it would get people out of the Amazon warehouse because no one should piss in bottles while they're working.
And it could, for all we know, fast track us to actual BattleTech being real life as well when the great space robot battles happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want there to be space robot battles. I really do. I know that's going to be hugely disruptive to civilization as a concept. I know it's going to be inefficient. I also know that it's going to be really expensive to even make half of these things happen. But I really want the future of war to have panache and elan and all of these wonderful things that are just chaotic and terrible, but also endearingly stupid.
A little bit of spice, eh?
Well, it must flow.
All right, so we're a bit over time. So I guess we'll call it there, Tex.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
All right. It was a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll do this again here soon. We'll figure out something more in line to talk about. This is enjoyable. I actually highly enjoyed this.
Oh yeah, no, I had great fucking fun, bud. And the thing is post it and see what people say. Get them to ask questions, and we just whatever.
I guess we'll go ahead and say it right now. If you have anything else you want to hear Garbro, the Titty Smith, and Tex of the Black Pants Legion talk about, put it down below in the comments, and we'll try to make that
We'll
happen.
do our best. I mean, again, I really appreciate being able to speak with you as a fellow creator, and I really appreciate hearing your life and your experiences up to this point, because I find if you take the 5 minutes of just bare effort to listen to somebody, you'll find you have a lot more in common with them than you think, because everyone wants a full stomach and probably some drugs. I'm just trying to be honest here. We are a civilization based on recreation.
There we are.
God bless America.